Following his match with LA Knight at Saturday night's main event ending prematurely due to an apparent injury, quote unquote, Seth Rollins was spotted backstage at Evolution the next night on crutches. Had a giant brace on his knee. He was there to watch his wife's match. He has been spotted elsewhere on crutches with that same brace on his leg, including the Rich Eisen Show on Wednesday, which he was guest hosting. Monday night on Raw, he was not there. And Paul Heyman said that he had no information to share about Rollins other than he has until next June to cash in his Money in the Bank contract. On the Eisen Show, Rollins did address his health at the very top of the show. This is what he had to say. "You can see myself on the monitor right there. I look great. I'm not going to lie, but underneath this monitor, I do have a leg brace. On over there in the corner are my crutches. This past Saturday, I was in a match on Saturday night's main event, a special on NBC on Peacock. I was in a match with LA Knight and I hurt my knee. I was doing a move that I do all the time. It's a moonsault, a backflip. In this particular instance, I was landing not on my belly, but I was landing on my feet when I landed. I felt my knee pop and buckle. And we got to get out of the match. We move forward. Monday, I was in Birmingham, Alabama, where our specialists are. We tried to take a look at the knee through some imaging. It was a little too swollen, so we're going to take another look, hopefully in a week or two here in LA, to try to get some sort of firm diagnosis, and then we can go from there. I am not a doctor. I only know my body and what I feel. What I feel is that this is going to put me out for an extended period of time. We were talking off air earlier, huge bummer, and it is a bummer, but look, it is what it is. Our business moves on. This isn't the first time I've been injured. It won't be the last, and I have always just got WrestleMania in the back of my mind. I'm like, can I make it back for WrestleMania season? And so that's where my brain goes. I feel good about that, but beyond a firm timeline, I just won't know until we get a better answer on the MRI. So then TJ Jefferson, who's a regular contributor on the Eisen Show, asked how Rollins is doing mentally, given that he was in the middle of a main event program. He said, "There's no good time to get injured. There's no, oh, this is the best time of year for this to happen, or you're not being used very much, so you take a break. But this is not my first rodeo. I had a very serious knee injury, same knee actually, back in 2015. I was in a much different state of mind at that point in my career, where I was still feeling like I needed to work to get to the top. Now I'm sort of at the top." And then the co-hosts were laughing like, "Oh, sort of." He says, "I've had multiple injuries over the years, so I know what it feels like to take a step back. But I also have confidence in our roster, in our team, that they're going to be able to move things forward in a way that is entertaining. I don't want to say they don't need me, but we're good. We're in a good place right now. And when I come back, I'll be better than ever. Mentally, I'm just in a much different place than 10 years ago. I'm more comfortable with it. I'm trying to find the silver linings here. Things like my daughter's 4.5 now. I'm going to be able to spend a lot of time with her that I might not have been able to otherwise because the schedule is going to get crazy. We have a bunch of international stuff coming up, so I would have been gone for all of that. So I think mentally I'm in a good place." And then he just goes on a little bit more. He did seem to be in remarkably good spirits, considering he thinks he hurt his knee even worse than he did last time. And this is someone who was in the midst of the biggest push that he's had in years. And after I saw what happened on Saturday night's main event, I did notice the referee, Jessica Carr. She never threw up the dreaded X sign, which is what they do when somebody gets legitimately hurt. But I didn't think too much of it, and I thought he really was hurt, right? We just didn't know how serious the injury was. But the way that they did the sudden finish with Knight beating him with the BFT and then cutting away from him post-match, it felt like this was a real injury. Then John Pollock of Post Wrestling reported that he was informed 48 hours before Saturday night's main event by a source who would be in the know to keep his eyes peeled for an injury angle involving Seth Rollins, one that would put him on crutches heading into Summerslam. And Pollock is not somebody that's just going to pull that out of thin air. If he says that this is what he was told by somebody 2 days before, that this is what we're doing, then this is what he was told that they're doing. And what a coincidence that Seth Rollins got hurt in his match on Saturday night's main event. He said, I was told this 2 days before the match happened. The fact is, I was told this in advance, so this person is not psychic. They're not Nostradamus. There are only 2 options here. Either that this was a work, or that they were planning a work, and he really did get hurt, and I don't think that's the case. Brian Alvarez has since said the reason these stories are conflicting is because he is hurt. But what happened on Saturday was a storyline, meaning he's hurt, but he did not get hurt on that spot. That spot was a cover for an injury that he has, which he will have to get worked on. The idea suggested was that he will be out of action for a little while, but they're going to say something like 9 months, but he will be back much sooner than that. So basically, the John Cena torn pec deal from 2007, when he tore his pec in that Raw match against Mr. Kennedy and then had to vacate the WWE title, right? He had that title for over a year by that point. So that was a shitty way for a 13-month title reign to come to an end. But it was a torn pec. So you figured, man, this guy's going to be gone for at least 5 or 6 months. And instead, he was back in 3. That's when he entered the Royal Rumble as a surprise at number 30, and everybody was shocked. Cena doesn't have mutant healing powers so much as he probably wasn't as injured as they suggested he was. Maybe the tear wasn't as bad. So when he came back early, it just caught everybody by surprise. What Alvarez is suggesting is that this is a similar situation where people think he may be out for 6 to 9 months, but maybe he comes back in, who knows, 2 or 3. In which case, there is no need to get the Money in the Bank briefcase off of him. I was floating an idea to do just that, only if he really was hurt that badly, and they thought he might actually miss a year or more. There was a way to do it where he tries to hand the briefcase off to Braun Breaker. Adam Pearce, though, doesn't allow it. He makes a new Money in the Bank match for SummerSlam, and then as a concession, he allows Breaker and Bronson Reed to enter without having to qualify. So now Seth's crew is represented, and you get a big attraction for SummerSlam. But it doesn't sound like that's going to be necessary. So I'm not saying the entire thing is a work. I could see him maybe having a minor injury, and this was a cover angle for that. But do I think what we saw on Saturday night's main event was planned the way it was? I do. I no longer think that everything was on the up and up there. You know, after the injury spot, Michael Cole made mention, I think I said this in my review of Saturday night's main event, but Michael Cole said that Seth had tweaked that same knee, or he had hurt that same knee, something to that effect, during his match with Penta the previous Monday. And I had no idea what he was talking about because I don't remember. I watched that match, I reviewed it, and I don't remember them mentioning anything about Seth hurting his knee. It just felt like something they made up to add to the story here. So how deep the work goes, I don't know. It may well, again, be a cover for a real injury that isn't too serious. You know, you guys know I'm not the conspiracy theory type generally. But if Pollock is saying he was told 48 hours before the show that there was going to be an injury angle, and I think Dave said the same thing, but if Pollock is saying that, then something is definitely cooking here. Mike Johnson of PW Insider has insisted from day one that it is not a work, and it is a very legitimate injury. I would love for it to be a work because just the timing of this could not be any worse. And if they can pull this off and it is a ruse and he shows up and cashes in to win the title at SummerSlam, let's say, kudos to them. I only hope they weren't working people like LA Knight and others who were close to this, because that would be really shitty to not clue them in on what was happening and keep them in the dark thinking that this guy got hurt during your match. I think that sucks. But otherwise, if they could pull off something like this and pull off a shocking moment, then hey, more power to them. Remember, Rollins said on television only a few weeks ago when he was in the ring with Gunther, talked about making sure that CM Punk never wins a world championship. So long as Rollins has breath in his lungs, he has made it his life's mission to make sure that CM Punk never holds a world championship. So on Monday night, they had a gauntlet match, 5-man gauntlet match. CM Punk entered last, and he beat Braun Breaker to win the gauntlet, which was to decide a number one contender for Gunther at SummerSlam. And so look at who's the number one contender all of a sudden for the World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk is going to the main event, probably of night one, at MetLife Stadium, where he lost to The Undertaker many years ago, and is challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship. Rollins cashing in to screw Punk out of winning the world title would make all the sense in the world. And I think enough people are talking about this now, though, that I do wonder if they would hold off and not do the cash in at SummerSlam, since everybody would be expecting it, and do it in Paris or some other show where people wouldn't be expecting it. So I'm fully expecting a Money in the Bank cash-in very soon, as in the next month or two. I'm not 100% sure it'll be at SummerSlam, but it would make all the sense in the world if he's physically able to do so at SummerSlam, and that's how you end night one. You want to end night one in a big way. The only way to do it would really be to have Seth live up to his promise. I told you, I will not allow you to become World Heavyweight Champion. So it's not even a case of him letting Punk win and then cashing in, and Punk is champion for 5 minutes. Like, if they do it, he would have to cash in during the match and completely prevent Punk from even winning the championship in the first place.